I often hear people say that the 1964 Civil Rights Act did not end racism in America. And what the Civil Rights Act did was it made it illegal for an organization or agency or whatever to discriminate against an individual based on their race, their sex, their gender, or sexual orientation, their religion. So if somebody or an organization is in practice engaging and discriminating against individuals based on those things, they would be sued. And it'd probably be the end of their business, especially if they own a business. That's pretty much the end of it. So no one wants to engage in that, even if it's in their heart. They don't want to actively do that kind of behavior because they know that that will be the end. And they end up spending thousands of dollars and ruining their reputation. But what people fail to realize is it is not, there's no government or law that can be passed to end racism in the heart of an individual. That's where all the isms, the sexism, the racism, whatever, that's in the heart of the individual. And when people claim that they're being discriminated against most of the time these days, they seem to not ever be able to give you who it is, what agency it was, what organization it was, and what exactly it was that they were doing to discriminate against them. When I hear people say that, most of the time they're lying, that they're just making excuses for their own failure. Because if you can't name the person, the organization, what they do is they hide behind faceless, abstract entities like society. Society is racist. The system is racist. The man, white supremacy. All those things are, so that you can't point your finger and say, this person is racist against me, and this is what they did to try to hold me back. This specific thing that they did to me. When I hear that, I pretty much don't, dismiss it. Because when a person has actually been discriminated against or someone has shown racist tendencies towards someone, they can tell you who it is and what it is that they did. Like, for instance, myself, I can give examples where people have shown racism toward me or whatever, or sexism or whatever. But what I've learned is when the people that engage in those kinds of things are usually losers. Or people, I'm not gonna say complete losers, but they're not successful people, and they are threatened by you, and they're threatened by you because if it's a man and then you're a female and you seem to be doing better than them, and then they thought that they thought you're supposed to be worse off than them, and they thought that you were supposed to be lower than them, and then here they are, they see that you are succeeding in things that they're not succeeding in, then they get mad, and then they may make comments or do things to act out because they feel threatened. Okay, successful people don't do that. You won't find highly successful people engaging in things, and they're not easily triggered and threatened because they are so busy succeeding in what they're doing. You'll find complacent people who are just going along, just doing their ordinary thing, and then here they come up against somebody whom they perceived or they thought should be worse off than them or beneath them, and say, okay, this person is doing all this, and then they get mad and they say little things or do things to try to act out. Now, I have stated that on a previous video about that. Now, I can give personal examples and that's why I don't really pay much attention to people that do that. Because I already know they're giving themselves away. They're telling you, hey, I'm a loser. I'm threatened by you. That is why I'm doing this stupid stuff. And that's why you shouldn't you shouldn't concentrate on people that do that stuff, because they're telling you you're more successful than me and I'm threatened by you. Now, I can give examples where that has happened to me. I've been sexism and racism. Because, as a female, I am considered, as a black woman in America, I am considered a minority. And as a female, I am a minority. So they can say, she's a double minority, whatever. I remember I owned a vending business. Now, I bought this business while I was still in the military. I wanted a business that I could do part-time while I was still serving in the military. And I looked at the money that I had to invest in a business, and I decided what kinds of business I would be able to invest in and also run on my own. So I used to look in the newspapers at the business section where they were selling businesses for sale, and read them until. So I came across a guy that had a huge vending business. He had tons of routes, and he had been doing this for years, and he wanted to retire, and he wanted to sell off some of his routes. So I called up the guy, and he took me on to a couple of routes, 3 routes that and asked me did I like them. Now see, when you're running a business like a vending business, the business is the route itself. To own a vending machine and not have a place for it to be placed is useless. You earn money in a vending business by having your machines placed somewhere. So this guy was not only selling his machines, and these were top-notch machines. He was also selling the business that these machines generated. So he sold me a route. I was at that was a what is it? A steel mill. It was a steel mill, and this steel mill had shifts of 18 hours. So the men at these steel mills were working 18-hour shifts, and they were always hungry. And so I bought the route where in the break room there was a soda machine, a snack machine, and then I even upgraded that one and put in a cold sandwich machine. And then I also had had the main office where I had a soda machine and a snack machine. And then I also bought a car dealership. On the car dealership floor, I had a soda machine, a juice machine that sold also those Monster power drinks or whatever, a juice machine, soda machine, a snack machine, and a coffee machine. So I bought that route, and then I also bought a route. It was at a mall I think it was a bookstore, and in the break room there was a soda machine and a snack machine. So I had those 3 routes that I bought from this individual. So when I first got the route, I only had my own SUV, but the business was just booming, and I didn't realize I had to restock these machines at least 3 times a week. So I took the money that I was making and I bought a cargo van, and I had my little business name put on the back of the van or whatever. It was Dixon's Vending. I bought some little khaki pants, and I had some polo shirts made with my name on it, Dixon's Vending. Okay, so I'd go to work in the military, and then after work, I would go in the bathroom and change into my little business uniform, and I'd come out the bathroom, and I'd have my uniform on a hanger, and I would hang my uniform inside my van, and then I would go. So when I would get to all of my places, I'd restock my machines, and it was mostly men at all these places where I owned these routes. And they would run out to my van, and they would ask for free stuff, and I would give them free stuff every time. Whatever you want, I'd give you. I'd give you something free. I was making tons of money at these different, at all my routes. Tons of money. And I got along fine with everybody. I didn't have any problems. This went on for months and months. And so once I had a problem with one of my dollar changers or whatever, so I had to hire a mechanic, a vending machine mechanic. So I took him with me to 2 of my routes, so to fix the dollar thing. And I noticed that once I showed up with this man, he was a white man, all the guys ran up to him and was shaking his hand because they thought he owned the business. Now, I didn't realize all this time that they were thinking that I was working for somebody, that that it wasn't my business. So when they went up to this guy and just was shaking his hand, and he said, he said, no, I work for her. She hired me to fix her machine. It's her business. I said, yeah, this is my business. From that day on, that's when all the problems started. They started tearing up my machines. I mean, this was at the steel mill. They were tearing up my machines. I had to get somebody to come back out and fix it. It's on the what is it? At the dealership, on the floor, they smashed the windows of some of my machines, and they would call me, and I had to get whole new windows. The front glass put back in. This happened about a couple of times. And I couldn't figure out why all these people, and they wouldn't tell me who's doing it. They knew who was doing it, but nobody would tell me. Now, the majority of the guys at the dealership that were always running up to me and asking for stuff. They worked in the parts department, you know. So it wasn't the guys that were selling the sales guys. It was mainly the parts guys. But I was always nice to them, and I got along fine with them. And they knew I was in the military because they saw my uniform hanging in the window. They said, "Oh, you're in the military." But I didn't realize that all that time they thought that someone else owned the business. They didn't know that it was my business. Once they found out that, they started destroying my machines. And I was really hurt by that. So it happened after a couple of times, and I was like, well, you know, I don't know what to do. So I decided to sell my entire business. And I sold my business, which was generating tons of money. I sold my business to a white guy. And I told him, I said, you won't have any problems, because I had told him that I had to, you know, repair 2 machines, the fronts of them, where they had just banged, I just destroyed the front, the whole glass. I said, you won't have any problems because you are a man, you know, because that's what other reason could it have been that they all of a sudden started destroying my machine? So I worked with a chief. I had a chief in the military, and I was so sad. He was so proud of me. And he used to, when I would come out of the bathroom with my little business suit on, he says, "Go make that money, go make that money," you know. And he was an older white guy, and I used to talk to him about a lot of stuff. And so I went to him and told him what had happened. And he told me this. He says, your first mistake was you told them that you owned the business. Now, Chief himself, he owned some houses. He had some real estate. And he loved Mercedes, so he had a collection of Mercedes that he had bought. But when he would go, he didn't hire a rental agency or whatever to collect his rent. He would go and collect his rent himself. And he told me that when he first started collecting his rent, he would drive his Mercedes. And once they saw him come up in his Mercedes, they started destroying his houses and stuff. One guy drilled a hole in the front door of his house, put a chain through it, wrapped it around the pole on the front porch, and tied his dog to it. Because what Chief told me was, people think that when you own something, that you're ripping them off. People that are renting from people or buying things from people's businesses, in their minds, they think I'm being ripped off, when really it's just an exchange. You're paying me for a service or a product, but they see it as you're rich and you're ripping me off. And so what Chief said was, what he did was he stopped driving the Mercedes, and he got an old beat up truck, and he started driving it when he'd go collect his rent, and it all stopped. So he said, when you told them that you owned the business, these guys immediately became threatened, and they wanted to destroy you because they thought that you were making so much money. Because see, they saw my uniform, so they knew I was in the military. Then they started what you call counting my money. They probably started saying, she's got this and she has this business and whatever. He says, but I told him, but I was proud of my business. I was bragging, and I didn't want them to give credit to someone else. He says, I understand that, but that's where you messed up. What my lesson learned was, when people, I should have never just said, this is my business, but what could I do to stop jealousy? Now, these guys were just worker bees. They worked at the dealership. They worked at the steel mill, making an honest living. But in their minds, I was more successful than them. So they thought, well, we're going to destroy her business because as long as we thought she was working for somebody else, that was fine. But now she's a female. So I could say sexism. I could claim sexism. It might be racism too, but I'll just stick to sexism. So I sold that business. But before I even sold the business, I have another example where I could claim racism. Now, I had a business account at Bank of America. I also had my paycheck from the military going in that same bank. But I would also had a business account, and I would have to go to the business side to deposit money. Now, I made so much money. I made a lot of money, and this was a cash business. So at least twice a week on my lunch break, I would go into the Bank of America business section, and I had the same 2 tellers that worked in that department that I would do business with every time I'd go in there. And so they knew who I was, and I'd go in there in my military uniform because it was on lunch break, and I would deposit money into my business account, Dixon's Vending. They knew this. So I guess one day, one of the little females, the same 2 females every time, I guess she just got fed up. And so she called herself making a joke. And she says, you probably really don't have a business. You're probably a stripper. That's why you're getting all this extra money from. Not from your business. You're a stripper. She thought it was a joke, and I guess she thought I was going to laugh. I just looked at her. And the look that I gave her let her know right off the bat that she had really messed up. She was a white girl with red hair. And the other girls was also a white girl. She was like, I can't believe you said that to her. So she knew, I didn't say a word. But she knew she had messed up. She knew I was in the military. She saw me every day. But in order to, I guess, show her that she was threatened by me coming in there with all this cash every day, she thought, oh, I'll just say you're a stripper. Well, the next time I went in there, she tried to clean it up. She didn't bring it up anymore, but she tried to make conversation. She started asking me, oh, how long have you been in the military? You look so young. You know, she wanted to try to clean it up because she had messed up. But I realized that that young lady, I don't know how much money tellers make, but she felt immediately threatened because I was bringing all that cash in. But what I wanted to say is, that didn't stop me. I didn't feel, this girl is racist, she's trying to hold me back, because she had no power over me. She was just jealous. Now, my whole point in making this video is people that are racist or whatever, it's usually a person that is a loser. Now, you can say, well, the teller is not a loser, but she felt she was, because why else did she act out like that? Or those men who destroyed my machines once they found out that I owned the business. Then when they found out I owned it, then they all of a sudden they will trash it. Before then they were fine. Those are people that feel threatened by you. That is why we should not even dwell. People that are succeeding in life should not be dwelling on racism all day long or sexism, because you realize that the people that are like that are only the people who are threatened by you because you are succeeding in something. If you're at home sitting on the porch every day or just sitting there complaining all day about racism, you're probably lying, because how did you even get in anybody's radar to begin with? You have to get in someone's radar for them to even start to try to discriminate against you. It's kind of hard for somebody to be racist against you if they don't even know you exist, or if you're not doing anything to cause waves or to threaten them or to make them look bad or make them feel bad about yourself. Now, it is not anybody's fault that someone is threatened by them or is jealous of them or whatever. That's that person's fault. They the ones have to deal with that. What you do is you move on. And in America, anybody can succeed in anything they want to if they work hard enough, regardless to how someone feels about them. None of that matters. That is why I always tell people to do all you can to succeed and forget everybody else. Sometimes it's family members, so-called friends, whoever. Concentrate on yourself and your own success, and you will always be